Hey everyone. So, oh shoot, can you hold on real quick? Okay, I'm back. So, hey everyone. Um, I came on here because I want to do some kind of clarifications for people that just do not get the whole thing with now and then. So, let's put this down right here now. Um, Aside from the borrowing of the backing vocals of Here, There, and Everywhere, Because, and um, what was the other one? Eleanor Rigby. None of the rest of the track was ever used any kind of AI. But first, let's understand what the A stands for. Artificial. Artificial is basically making something to make it seem like another thing. So let's say, for instance, when you're making like fruit punch, they use like artificial flavors. So it's like it's basically taking sugar and some other kind of chemical components that makes it taste like whether if it's like a cherry or a strawberry, watermelon, you know, lemon. It's using like chemicals to make something to make it taste like said fruits, even though um, the fruits that's actually trying to make it taste like is not being used. So that's artificial right there. Or in the case of people using AI in music, it's basically when you're trying to take a sample of a voice. Like, for instance, you could take my voice as I'm speaking right now. You record what I'm saying, and then you put it through a computer filter, and then you can manipulate my voice in so many ways to make me talk. I don't know, make me sound like like Mickey Mouse, or make me sound like Minnie, or make me sound like Jennifer Aniston, whatever. That's artificial, meaning that you're taking a voice and manipulating it to sound like somebody else. So, um, but for now and then, um, there was no real AI being used on it. What was being used was a program that Peter Jackson developed called MAL. Now, I don't really remember what the acronym MAL stands for. I still need to um, put that into my brain of what stands for. But all that program did was basically, let's say for instance, this right here is that demo of now and then. So you have it's all locked in mono. This is all mono right here. So all they did was um they took this program, and it was basically like taking scissors to a piece of paper. And what they did was they took that part right there, that is John's vocal, and they just trimmed out, the background noise right there. And then he took out John's original piano. All that you're left with now is John's voice by itself. And then they took John's voice, and then they took George Harrison's 1995 guitar part, which they didn't really have to do much with George's part, because considering that, according to notes that was put out by Hog Hill Studios, they whittled down the tape to a certain length of how the song was going to be. So they had already taken out that one part that everybody loved. That one, I think it was like a middle eight or a pre chorus or something like that. So George's part was already going to be the length of the actual track when they're recording it. So all they did was they took John's vocal right here, They took George's guitar part, and then they took them, and then they put it onto a new tape machine. And so this is like the new like multi-track of it. So they took John's vocal and George's guitar part, and then Paul added his voice, Paul added violin, bass, and then Paul did like another piano track. Ringo did his backing vocals as well as drums, and then there was a guitar overdub done by Paul, and then you have strings done by Giles Martin. So all this was basically just recorded by actual musicians. You have John's actual voice, and all that happened was once they were able to take out John's voice from the demo, they just cleaned it up. They just made it sound pristine. They took out any kind of the the harshness that came from the tape, and then they just added some bass, treble, mids to it, softened it up, EQ it right so that John's voice doesn't sound like it came off of a rough demo, and it sounds nice and clean, which can be done. I've done this before. I use my own demixing program, and I also do a lot of remixing of music, and so it's a very easy thing. So that's all he did. It's John's voice. His voice was not manipulated any way, shape, or form. You're getting a pure Lennon vocal off of that track. Same with George's guitar part. That was recorded by Jeff Lynne and Jeff Emerick in '95 at Hog Hill. And nothing was manipulated. It's still his same guitar parts as electric and acoustic parts. So that's all that was going on with Now and Then. They didn't have to put it through any kind of machine to make John sound like John. It's a pure John vocal. And so I think that's what people need to understand. And then when you're taking these two parts and you're putting it into another tape, another multi-track tape, or if they're using Pro Tools or something like that, all you're doing now after that is basically overdubbing. Overdubbing is the art of adding sound onto sound. Again, no AI needed. People have been doing overdubbing ever since the 1950s when Les Paul and Mary Ford actually did like a really cool what's the word that I'm looking for? Demonstration. When they did this demonstration on some show back in the 50s with the song How High the Moon. It just basically showed them using tape to overdub. And that's all they're doing, adding sound onto sound. That is overdubbing. Eddie Cochran did it with Summertime Blues. All the parts on that song is Eddie Cochran. Buddy Holly also introduced vocal overdubbing, double track recording with songs like, Words of Love and many of his other hits, And overdubbing has been done even going into stuff like Beach Boys, The Beatles, Rolling Stones. Everybody does overdubbing. That is overdubbing that was done with Now and Then. No artificial intelligence. They didn't have to tell computer, make this sound like John, make this sound like Paul's bass playing, make this sound like Ringo's drum. None of that was done with Now and Then. So, and I think this is where Paul McCartney got it wrong when they were doing when he did the interview where he said they used AI. AI was only 5% used, and that was only to extract the backing vocals for Here, There, and Everywhere, Eleanor Rigby, and Because. Which I don't really actually hear it. I need to listen to the recording again. But there really was no real AI work done on that. All that was just, extracting and then overdubbing. Simple as that. So, let this be the final word of the whole stigma behind Now and Then. It is not a pure AI recording. It is all done by actual voices, by actual musicians, um, with actual, singing and production. There you go. And that's my lesson for everybody today. Class is dismissed.